Each week, we like to break down the stories from the three levels of government with CTV political commentator and friend of our show, Scott Reid. He joins us once again in the studio. Scott, great to see you.
Great to see you. I do not bring any spicy dishes, sorry.
Just a little spicy commentary, Scott.
Exactly.
And it's interesting because, you know, behind the scenes, we discuss a lot of stories. Oh, should we talk about this? Should we talk about this? But this morning, you were like, we need to talk federally about the fact that this Canada Post workers have got the strike. They haven't issued a strike yet, but the notice is there. It could be 3 days' time. What does this mean, and what's this impact on the Trudeau government potentially here?
Well, brace yourself, because it could be very challenging for the government, could be very challenging for a ton of people, because these negotiations have been underway for a year. Canada Post now is kind of chronically underwater because of the competition that's out there for parcel delivery and everything else, and the diminution of sort of traditional letter delivery, right? So, I mean, how many of us get checks in the mail now,
a letter or a check,
and write grandma anymore, right? So all of that means that Canada Post corporately has been saying, listen, we have to compete, we have to be able to do same-day delivery on the weekends. Union says no, they've been at a deadlock. Now they issue a 72-hour strike warning, and they say we may not invoke it within 72 hours. Well, what's coming up? Christmas!
Exactly.
What do you get at Christmas? Parcels. And so they're really trying to use their leverage to force the corporation into a movement. If they end up on strike, if this thing grinds to a halt, then the pressure shifts to the federal government. Do they force them back to work? Do they legislate them back to work? If so, under what terms? All of this, you know, you think about the port strike. Again, labor issues in the aftermath of the pandemic, with wage inflation demands, it's a constant pressure, and this is the kind of pressure that the federal government, that's deep underwater, politically unpopular, does not want. They do not want to be the Grinch at Christmas. They don't want to be the guys defending that they're not forcing them back to work, and they don't want to be the guys that are forcing them back to work. Plus, the NDP have said don't do it. And who are the Liberals relying upon solely now to save their butts in Parliament and keep them from an election? The NDP. Tricky politics coming up on this.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. We'll continue to watch that one. And Scott, turning to the Liberals on the provincial level, we know Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie, she's set to make her first major campaign announcement this morning at a restaurant. But there's also whispers of an early election. This just gets louder and louder. Yeah,
so Bonnie Crombie's going to come out. She's going to present some tax measures. We know one thing they've hinted at is that she's going to call for the relief of the HST, the provincial sales tax portion on home heating oil. What is she trying to do? Well, she's running against Doug Ford. She's running against Marit Stiles, the NDP leader. She's also running against Justin Trudeau. Like, she has to distinguish herself as much from the federal Liberals on these issues of tax and climate as she does from the Premier. And so I think this is smart positioning for her. I think this is her way of signaling, we're not just downtown climate Liberals. We're going to try to capture some middle class, pocketbook sensitive voters. All that makes a lot of sense. But you're right. Why is this happening now? Because Doug Ford is signaling that he wants to have an election early, and the buzz is way early. We might have a winter election. He's looking at the feds and he's saying, will these guys survive? I can't have an election in May. That could be the same time as a federal election. So back it on up. Lisa MacLeod, MPP out of Ottawa area, yesterday is giving a speech, and she says, well, the curtain's going to drop on me on February 28th. Ding, 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 three cherries. Everyone's wondering, does that mean February 28th is when the election's going to be called? Which means that we could be going door to door when the snow's still flying.
Wow, that could be something. But we were talking the other day about the idea of simultaneous Fed provincial elections. That's just kind of a whole mess. You just can't do that.
Both parties rely too heavily upon the workforces of sort of a shared labor force, if you will, of campaign workers. And by the way, particularly for the Premier, like with Poilievre riding high in the polls, that federal conservative organization would turn to Queen's Park and say, are you guys seriously going to call an election and try to bleed us when we have an opportunity to form government? Back it up.
That would add some tension there.
Yes.
In the meantime, let's talk municipally here. The city is going to be talking about a proposal today about the whole municipal accommodation tax, a.k.a. the FIFA hotel tax, is really what a lot of people are talking about. I'm surprised there's not a Taylor Swift tax coming in this week.
Because this is a special event tax. Well, we're going to put in place a big hotel tax, and Airbnb tax, because we know FIFA's coming. But yeah, I mean, Taylor Swift is bringing, according to the so-called experts, she's bringing $212 million to the economy. So let's have a look and see what's going on there. Here's the one thing I would say to you guys. We were chatting about this off camera. Taylor Swift's in town. It's going to be a big deal. It's her world. We just live in it. It's all that anybody in the city is talking about. I'm shocked you don't have a bracelet. I'm deeply disappointed in you, Nick.
It's hidden up the sleeve there.
I want my name spelled on it. Put my phone number, just like Kelsey. You and I, we can hook up that way.
Sure, yeah.
And here's the thing. For local and municipal politicians, it's going to be so tempting to jump on this bandwagon. And here's my one caution as a longtime political advisor. Don't be a phony. If you don't know a Taylor Swift song, don't pretend you're a Taylor Swift fan. If you don't know anything about her music or her background, don't fake it, because you will get busted. You will get busted wide open, and all those fans you're hoping to leverage will turn on you with spite and spit.
Absolutely. Great advice there, Scott.
No need to calm down, Scott. All right, appreciate this, Scott. We'll see you back here next week for more.
Shake it off, brother.
Yeah.
Shake it off.
There we go.